The Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. I wasn't there. I didn't get the instructions from the judge. I didn't see the evidence presented to the jurors. I don't know whether it was the right or the wrong verdict. I know it's a troubling verdict. I know it's troubling. So I'll just try and tell you why folks like me are worried about it. It just seems that there's a concerted effort on the right to break free speech, a concerted effort to break constructive dialogue, and a concerted effort to break protest. There have been efforts to make it legal to drive trucks through groups of protesters. Efforts to make it legal to open carry everywhere. Efforts to make it legal to concealed carry. This is a case that's going to make it to the Supreme Court in this next go-round of cases at the Supreme Court. The idea that concealed carry permits would actually infringe your right to bear arms, imposing undue levels of regulation on that. And this, as I just explained in that long-ass video on pacifism, one of the ways they get you, one of the ways they get you is they pull you over for a busted traffic light or 2 miles an hour over the speed limit or something or nothing. And then they poke you, right? You're already mad because you're being inconvenienced and you think it might be racial and it's probably racial. And then they get in your face and they poke you. They give you orders. They tell you to put out your cigarette, but it's not a crime to smoke in your car and you're already mad, and they poke you. They make implications. They use up your time. And then when you start getting mad, they order you out of the car, tell you you're resisting arrest, poke you harder. Anything that you do that slows down your arrest is resisting arrest. The next thing you know, you've been shot. Or there are 12 police officers surrounding you, holding you down, and one of them's kneeling on your neck. Well, not your neck, obviously, because you're white. Kyle Rittenhouse, as much of the story as I can get just watching CNN and MSNBC and avoiding Fox because they're liars, as much as I can get on social media, the 6 o'clock evening news, it looks like he provoked that situation. He provoked that situation by open carrying a rifle into a space where they're literally protesting that lives are worth more than property, and he's there with a gun to defend property. So if you set fire to something or spray paint something, he's threatening to shoot you. And then he raises his rifle and points it at somebody. It's on. So he's provoked this situation. When you provoke other people to defend themselves against you, you have lost the right to self-defense. And this verdict seems to say otherwise. It seems to say you can carry rifles and pistols and shotguns into a peaceful protest, provoke people with them, get in their face, antagonize already very angry people, and then when they act against you, you can shoot them legally. There's no recourse in the courts. This is terrifying. It's terrifying in a country where our government is rapidly giving way to fascism, where our votes no longer count. right? Republicans are taking over formerly nonpartisan positions, giving themselves the right to overrule the will of the people. Gerrymandered places like North Carolina, it might be a 50-50 state, but they send 3/4 of the representatives they send to the Congress are Republicans, and 90% of the representatives in their own state house are Republicans, despite being basically a 50-50 state. If we can't protest, that is our last bastion of democracy gone. I was at Black Lives Matter here in our town a couple summers ago, and militia cosplayers came out, racist militia cosplayers. They tried to join our protests, and they were initially accepted and then rebuffed when new leadership kind of took over who knew the game they were playing. And when they were rebuffed, they surrounded, they took a position on a parking structure overlooking the protest. They said what they were there for is if there was any Antifa, then they would protect us against Antifa. And what they meant was when the looting starts, the shooting starts. They were there to intimidate. You can't be intimidated. You can't be intimidated. So we continued our peaceful gathering in the sights of racist men with AR-15 rifles looking down upon us. And I just see a day, in our group, there were some hard men with guns, I'm a pacifist. Not everyone at that meeting was a pacifist. And there were people with med kits and rifles. They were there to do good. And if violence broke out, they were there to help sort out the violence. They were the ones there to protect peaceful protesters. The other guys were liars. They were there to incite violence. They were looking for a chance to murder peaceful protesters. What was Kyle Rittenhouse there for? I don't know. He probably just heard a bunch of bullshit Fox News propaganda, got caught up in it, didn't do any critical thinking, and thought he was doing good. He's there to protect property against Antifa looters who are the real fascists and the real racists, whatever. He was probably stupid. And he seems to have, from this remove, instigated accidentally the situation that caused him to pull the trigger. And that verdict is terrifying. I just see a day where our hard men with guns, instead of taking up position with med kits, ready to do first aid and making sure people are staying hydrated, instead they take up position overlooking the racist militia right-wing fuckwads overlooking the peaceful protest. It makes violence inevitable. And I just worry that the Rittenhouse verdict is really aimed at making violence inevitable.